Alright, so it has no cuff. I will analyze the differences with the more modern ones that were meant to imitate these ones, that were meant to imitate the older ones, whatever. This has a neater looking welt cuff, making it more undershirt-like. This has a more, say, a big web, making it more seem like a cuff. This could be for several reasons. Perhaps these, especially since it has a standing out color, was actually acceptable, or they knew that soldiers did it anyhow. Meaning that the captain was not Captain Cole, or yes, the one checking the uniform was not around. Whilst since this was winter, even if they were meant to wear and shirt over that, they would not do it. Obviously, Russia and these places tend to be continental climates, whereby there could be 60 degrees of difference easily every year, basically. And the coldest peak of the year will be about -20. The coldest, the highest peak shall be about 40 degrees. So in summer and spring it gets very warm or hot. So they may have known that and thought, well, at least when they skip, even if they're not meant to, or if they were actually meant to not wear with anything else, or if they were meant to actually wear something else which wouldn't be the undershirt, this would actually be the shirt, perhaps, or simply at least would protect and sit better, and then kind of protect the public wearing it with some sort of tunic, coat. It would protect that collar from not getting dirty and not scratching the neck too much. And then the cuffs, again, because these were made way back, the cuffs may have been because either the soldier made it himself by making it extra long. Also, if this was not actually, since this was from World War II, this probably it was not made by soldiers. It was actually made by women or in factories. So they made it extra long and then sold it, so that it gave the option, because the sizing didn't know how to the sizes. If it was the required size and body, it was definitely too short, or the cuff got damaged. It could leave a lot of spare to fix it up. Certainly we're making it long. Not necessarily to tuck it in, because honestly, look, I will take down my under trousers, so I'm essentially naked. Let me just check. If there's no, yeah, so when I lift my arms, it shows my, you know what makes my male. So I'm not lift my arms like that, but it is very hard to tuck in, kind of where's the bed, it's not very long enough for that. Which the actual 19th century ones, at least the Soviet army ones, would probably, I guess. But it is exactly the length to then validate a law of play. In other words, if the undershirt gets damaged, or a man with a relaxed, tight fit and he's incredibly skinny neck, like I, or more skinny neck, but he's very tall, or if it wears out or another patch wears out, you may cut this patches here or there to this all over the place. So again, this is a visual from 1945, just when the war ended. Red Army undershirt, which is incredibly accurate, because again, this is Soviet Union 1945 Army, so it is very backdated compared to what English people were wearing, civilian English people. Also not a civilian English man from a remote village in Yorkshire, but it is probably essentially the same, even in terms of the buttons seem to be some form of, no, they're actually plastic imitating bone, but really they imitate it quite well. They look much more old-fashioned than these. These look kind of like things that started appearing, at least in civilian or modern contexts in the 30s, whatever. These, they look like things that were then in the 1910s in civilian wear. At least in mass-produced civilian wear, in modern places, it has like Moscow or Berlin, and Chicago, San Francisco, Paris, London, or all over the places in England, really, because England was very modern then. So, but these are These are definitely not actually pearl or not of pearl. See, it's the same color than the under trousers. Look how accurate that bloody looks. 1940 to 50 Swedish army wearing cotton and trousers. And this 1945 Soviet army. Undershirts, both northeastern European, because actually most of Sweden is in the east of Europe. Only the very tip and the south is still in the east of the west of Europe. So, I try that on. Now probably. So this may not work as an undershirt, it may work because of the shirt I'm wearing, but probably as for morning, which I shall have in the morning. If it shall not, or when I shall be morning, when the undershirt I shall wear probably breaks down, if I have to do another morning later, or if the morning is long, I'll probably get a shirt, whether with and or without a collar, actually sewn in. That would be snugger to have a better sitting upon the neck, and that of this would then no longer function. But this, I just realized as I'm speaking that this is not actually for morning. This is for. That's why I'm not wearing it now. Now I'm wearing that one, the red one, and the white one that has the red thing. And the union, you saw it just now. It was part of the hangar. And you saw my wearing it in some videos if you watch all the videos. And grey, postmodern imitation, actually medium level imitation, a good imitation, combinations. Although they were not meant to imitate, it's simply that in some parts of the world these are still fashionable, especially in Canada or northern United States of America. So this is essentially a spare for, I think that this one shall die first. It has holes and these are not worth patching. So I can say actually I thought this was one of the strongest, shall be started with forever. They shall probably die first. I don't know how I shall wear that. With, for example, the whatever, either the shirt I was wearing now, the J. Peterman shirt. So I will keep this on. And I will. Yes, I will share. It was in January 2025, a year and a half ago, when one was analyzing for the first time before wearing this undershirt. I was talking about an over-undershirt, and that I had one, that at that time the cleaner I had in Shala was repairing. And she was repairing it, and said, no, and it is exactly this one. This I bought thinking it was an undershirt. Also some people might have worn directly next to their skin. One of the first vintage, very vintage undershirts I purchased back in 2013, when Swan was 7 to 10 years of age. This thing, and she repaired it using these 1980s patches. And this is made out of pure wool. This is French. To sell them on eBay, they call them French undershirts, or what, working class undershirts. These were empty working class, factory made. See, antique. See the buttons, perfect example. This is probably from the 30s, 20s or 40s. The buttons look a lot alike. These are actually more antique plastic, I get it, kind of the same. These are actually made off of the same material made off my antiques. Or perhaps now I come to think, probably maybe out of vintage styles, and all that I initially thought. And perhaps it's from the 20s if it is in the 19th century, if it is the same plastic. Again, it could be that the same plastic was used for many years, especially for more utilitarian undergarments and not even seen by having a cheaper, more readily available option. Because I think that these are really not 19th century, because many of them, some of them come in bundles and stocks. No, I know it is not in the 19th century, because see the tag there, you can barely see that it has a sort of drawing. It has a number there that could look military-like or 19th century, but it has a tag below that the material is clearly made out of some sort